And make the suggestion that we let ourselves find a comfortable yet upright position wherever we're sitting. And sit wherever you feel you can be most comfortable, but perhaps can still hear the sound of my voice, or at least the sound of the bell. We might take a couple of moments to have gratitude for ourselves because we are here. Gratitude to the Buddha, to other enlightened ones who have gone through this same human struggle in samsara and have found freedom for themselves and have actually found a way to impart all of this vast knowledge in small enough bite-sized pieces for us to have something to pay attention to and to practice. And for those teachings, those simple yet not easy to apply to ourselves, being attentive in each moment, having freedom be really important. And to all of those beings who have helped pass the word along. So many, 2,660 something years ago, I heard someone say a while back, it's gone through many cycles of verbal translation and written translation. It's passed through various countries. It's had many forms in each of those countries. And we still have the great blessing of being able to hear the Dharma and practice it for ourselves in this lifetime. And the precious birth of this lifetime, no matter what our dukkha is, no matter what our rise and fall of what's so horrible and what's so wonderful, and finding equanimity in between, when our practice wanes and then when we get stimulated to continue our practice through all those ups and downs, it's only in this human birth that we have the privilege of having just enough dukkha and just enough sukha to find the practice worthwhile. And so we give appreciation and homage to the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha as we hold ourselves with kindness and gratitude. Letting the breath be our guide. To settling into the body. We may notice that it might be long, it might be short. We can be very present, noticing that spot in between, right before we start the inhale, right after the exhale is over, the top of the inhale, the bottom of the exhale, that place that place in between action occurring. And the breath does this all by itself. We can go for a certain amount of time, but then the breath is going to begin again. We can't control the breath. Well, we can do controlling breath activities, but even so, in a natural, easeful breath, even if we tried to make the breath last longer or try to take a bigger in-breath, it's going to do what it needs to do. Conditions are coming together. For the inhale or the exhale, and then they fall apart and come together again for its opposite. And paying attention to this minute detail of the breath is just a way for us to let the mind attend to just one thing. We bring it back gently when it roams off into thinking. Maybe it goes to something arising in the body that catches our attention. Those are other conditions arising at one of our sense doors. But we can begin again at the breath wherever we feel it the most, or at a touch point, where the buttocks is on the cushion, where the hands are touching each other, or where the arms are touching. A way of taming the mind to try to do one thing at a time. Attend to a single object. Stay with that object until it changes. We can see it change, or we realize that it's dissipated. And then we can do that again on the breath. Or if we choose a touch point, we can notice sensations of pressure that might change as we're attending to that touch point. Heat or coolness. And you may want to have an intention during this sitting of not being hard on yourself, or beginning again whenever you notice you've lost your concentration or you're confused and don't know where you are. Or maybe it's to hold yourself kindly with compassion. Or maybe it's to summon up some energy Whenever you notice that you're feeling drowsy or there's sort of a lag in what you're doing, and we can remind ourselves of this intention from time to time. Or we can just wake up in the moment that we wake up. And start from there. This gives us an opportunity to build up a kind of fortress sometimes against things like sloth and torpor, falling asleep, restless mind, doubt, grasping at things, pushing them away. The returning to the single object of our attention is what you are doing in the present moment. And as these concentration moments build, those other hindrances don't come in. When they do come in, we just notice, oh, hello, old friend. I don't think I'll have you in for tea today. I see you so much, sloth and torpor. I know what happens. I know what happens with restlessness or grasping or pushing away. I see you, Mara. And we build up these easeful, gentle, mindful moments of attentiveness without pressure, without such extreme focus that it causes agitation or nervousness or anxiety about what we're doing. We're just being in the present moment. We can see what's arising and what's falling. When our attention roams, we can see where the attention goes then. Mindfulness and awareness are present with whatever is happening in this moment, which is a precious moment of awakening. And we may notice as we're trying to observe our thoughts and perceptions that arise that there isn't really anything we can pin down. Everything arises, comes together, passes away, falls apart. We can't really grasp at a shape or a color, a location or a texture for very long. But when things like thoughts do arise, we can investigate. We can note, we can try to see, where do our thoughts come from? Can we find an origin? When a thought is present, what do we notice about its qualities? And when it dissipates, where does it go? So this bringing in of investigation is wisdom to help us see when it might be a good idea to leave some of our repetitive thoughts to fall away without grasping onto them, and incline our hearts and minds toward the more skillful. Just being kind to ourselves in the present moment. Noticing there's a lack of harm. There's no ill will happening. We're just being steadfast with our own experience. And we are cultivating and planting seeds of peace and happiness, one breath at a time. It's really out of compassion for this life and for our world that we sit down every day and tame the mind and train the mind to be present with this wild and often neurotic swirl of bodily and mental activities, and we try to do it without judgment. Because as we all know, there truly is no end to the mind's capacity for mental proliferation. We spend our days worrying and fantasizing and imagining becoming someone or doing something and remembering the past and on and on. Sometimes we can even obsess about how much we're obsessing. So built into this proliferation is this promise that we, once I think this through and plan this out and analyze or speculate enough, there will be some resolution and the mind will finally get to put it all down. And then I'll be peaceful. But that never happens. Instead, this mind is bound in habits. And it just does some version of what it's done before. So we have compassion and kindness for ourselves. We're not trying to get rid of the whole mess, but we want to better understand the nature of these loops of thoughts and the bodily tensions that the thoughts create. And we persist no matter what comes and goes in this field of our experience. Any experience that arises is simply the next thing being known, being felt. It's like this now. Can this be okay? And we commit to this meditative process because it illuminates what is necessary to see. And so wisdom grows slowly, and our hearts become more tender and sensitive. And gradually the mind releases its grip. And so whatever arises in the heart and mind, anything and everything that comes into view can be the object for our clear comprehension. Anything that comes into view of our attention is what we put our mindful awareness on. Breathing in, breathing out, irritated, confused, interested, upset, physical and mental experiences, being mindfully aware of them, not just glancing at them. We spend enough time to connect and sustain with what the experience is, so that we can keep this continuity of practice to be aware of the continually changing objects that come into view, and we stay with the experience to see its impermanent nature, arising and passing. We can see that it's not permanent, we can't grasp onto it. There's really no sense of self. Awareness is seeing more directly those three aspects of anicca, anatta, and dukkha. And so we want to see clearly without an extreme amount of effort. We're just present, and knowing is happening. And our experience sometimes can become more refined. Sometimes we can see more refined experiences. It takes refinement and repetition. And kindness and ease. Sometimes we can ask ourselves, what is happening right now? What is the attitude of the mind? Thoughts and sensations can come and go as they wish, and we don't have to become involved with them. We don't have to engage in the content. Having mindfulness of thinking is simply recognizing that we are thinking. And the thoughts can be subtle and in the background. And when random thoughts and sensations pull us away from awareness of the present, all we have to do is resume that mindfulness of breathing. We can set aside the identifying with the thoughts. And we can often soften. Grounding ourselves in the present moment. Sometimes we need to acknowledge trains of thought that no matter how many times we recognized this repeated thought, or concern, we come back to the breath, and sometimes it just keeps reappearing. Sometimes we need to notice associated emotions. If there's a repetitive thought pattern, we can see if we can discover an emotion associated with it and practice mindfulness of the emotion. When we acknowledge the emotion, oftentimes the thoughts that it engenders can dissipate. We can find a place in the body that we might feel this emotion. And that brings us back into this present moment without going off on that storyline. We spend a lot of time in our cognitive world and with stories and ideas, and mindfulness practice can help us prevent some of the compulsively following thoughts that have appeared, and that can help us become more balanced so that our physical and emotional and mental states all work together as a whole, one breath at a time. Taming the mind. Having interest and energy. As it says in the Dhammapada, the mind hard to control, flighty, alighting where it wishes. One does well to tame. The disciplined mind brings happiness. The mind hard to see, subtle, alighting where it wishes. The sage protects. The watched mind brings happiness. And as we hold this feeling, this sense of training something flighty that alights where it wishes, we can remember to hold ourselves in kindness, that this isn't a goal that we're going to rush after. We're just going to be with what arises. And then notice what's useful and what isn't. And slowly begin to tame the undisciplined mind. One breath at a time, one act of kindness for ourselves, holding ourselves with gentleness. That we may be relaxed and at ease. And may we also hold this kindness for others in our household, that these beings be relaxed and at ease. Within our friends and families, May you be relaxed and at ease. May you take care of yourself happily. May we let this nurturance of kindness hold ourselves and others. Just staying with the easy categories. A close friend, benefactor. Ourselves. May we be free from harm, safe and protected, and have ease and well-being. Cultivating this heart and mind to be free from ill will. Acknowledging those moments of good that we've done for ourselves and those that we've done for others and those that others have done for us. We might not always feel something that we think is called loving kindness or even goodwill, but we can usually notice, if we pay attention, when there is non-harming in the heart and mind. Lack of ill will. And so this metta can hold ourselves, this container of our body breathing, can hold each other in our circle here. We can think of all of those that we don't know who are wishing us loving kindness as their neutral person. We never need to feel alone without receiving kindness and compassion. Just resting as naturally as possible in kindness, that all beings may be free from harm, safe and protected, have ease in their lives. Those beings we don't know, those that are enlightened and also those that are unenlightened, beings that are in suffering and those that are in joy. May all beings abide in well-being, be free from hostility and ill will, from anxiety. May all beings be released from all suffering. Anicca vata sankhara upadavaya domino upakitawa merchanti te samvapasamo sukho. All conditioned things are subject to impermanence. They arise and pass away. And seeing this clearly with mindfulness brings the greatest happiness, which is peace. And may we remember that the goodness of our practice is of benefit to all sentient beings. No matter what goes on in the heart and the mind and in the body, the fact that we are here with it brings great benefit to ourselves and to others. Thank you for your practice.